What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. We got some big news with former President Donald Trump being indicted by the grand jury here in the case with Stormy Daniels and the hush money. I'm going to let you hear directly from Trump's attorney here. We got some big news here. Also with the New York Police Department. Uh, yeah, really big news here for you guys. Let's jump right in here. Yeah, so Trump faces about 30 counts in the New York grand jury indictment. The exact charges are under seal. They're expected to be revealed when Trump is scheduled to be arraigned on charges on Tuesday. And this threw Trump for a loop because they thought the grand jury was out, and apparently it was maybe a little bit of a ruse, and they weren't out. They were in. I'll get to that here in a moment. I'll let you hear it directly from his attorney. Trump has to say here, here's Trump's post directly from his Truth Social. He says, this is directly from him. He says, quote, "The judge assigned to my witch hunt case, a quote case that has never been charged before, hates me. The judge hates me," he's saying. His name is Juan Manuel Marchand, was handpicked by Bragg and the prosecutors, and is the same person who, quote, railroaded my 75-year-old former CFO, Alan Weisselberg, to take a, quote, plea deal, a plead guilty, even if you are not. 90 days, fight us in court, 10 years, parentheses, life, in jail. He strong-armed Alan, which a judge is not allowed to do, and treated my companies, which didn't, quote, plead viciously, appalling. This is what Trump has to say here. This is literally just here this morning. Here is what Trump's attorney has to say here this morning as well. Take a listen.
Now Joe Tacopina, one of the attorneys representing Donald Trump. Mr. Tacopina, good morning to you.
Good morning, Savannah.
What was the president's reaction when told by his lawyers of this indictment?
You know, despite all the scuttlebutt and rumors and whatnot, we believed and hoped that rule of law would have prevailed. So he initially was shocked. After he got over that, he put a notch on his belt, and he decided we have to fight now, and he got into a typical Donald Trump posture where he's ready to be combative on something that he believes is an injustice. His knees don't buckle, Savannah, so I think he's now in the posture that he's ready to fight this.
Have you been told anything about when this indictment may be unsealed and you and the rest of the public will have a look at what these charges actually are?
You know, not definitively, Savannah. We're talking about early next week, but that day hasn't been set yet. Likely Tuesday, but again, that's still to be determined.
Have you been told anything about the nature of the charges in this indictment?
No, I mean specifically, no. We don't know how many counts. We don't know what the actual charges are, but we do know it centers around a legal, very common confidentiality agreement that was signed years and years ago with Stormy Daniels and between her attorneys and Michael Cohen. Those were the parties to the confidentiality agreement. So it's nothing more than that, which is really what makes this shocking. This is a historic case, a monumental case, a case that will have wide-reaching ramifications. And it really, today, I feel very concerned about the rule of law in this country because it endangers the rule of law for all Americans. Today it's Donald Trump. Tomorrow it's a Democrat. The day after it's, your friend. The day after that, it's you or me. And that's what concerns me. When a prosecutor can use the law and the system to go after a political opponent, it's something that frightens me.
Well, we don't yet know, in fairness, what these charges are and what the substance is behind them. There is a report that there are 30-plus charges. What do you make of that number, if it's correct?
If it's correct, it means they've taken each transaction, each check, each payment, each entry, and made it a separate charge. I still think it's going to all rise and fall on the issue of this settlement agreement, a very legal, very common settlement agreement, and how it applies to campaign finance laws, Savannah. Remember, that's where we are here. The only other precedent that's even remotely close is the John Edwards case, which was prosecuted by federal authorities because it was a federal election. It was prosecuted because there was a donor involved, as opposed to using personal funds like here. And in that case, the Justice Department ultimately dismissed that case when they couldn't get a conviction. And that was federal prosecutors who, in this case, turned this down. The FEC, the Federal Election Committee, I've spoken to chairmen there, they turned this down. They said there is no crime. Yet, somehow a state prosecutor who doesn't even have jurisdiction over the federal elections is prosecuting a case. It makes it obvious as to why, and it's very concerning.
Well, and again, we don't yet know what the legal theory is, but there is, of course, wide speculation that campaign finance may be what brings it into the realm of a felony conviction. This has to do with falsification of business records, and I know we don't have at the time or the facts to litigate it here, but one point of clarification, right. I wonder if you can clear it up for me. These legal services, this all centers around these payments that were made to Stormy Daniels being called legal services and whether that was true or not. Here's my question. Where on the books of the Trump Organization was that written? Did it ever go to any third party, or was this just strictly internal business records?
Savannah, that's really a great question. It's actually, I think, the first time I've been asked that in the last month. That's the point. They were internal business records. They were not filed. Look, there was no tax deduction taken here, which initially was the theory of this case when they put it in the grand jury 2 years ago. No tax deduction taken. And secondly, there was no obligation to file this with the FEC. If there were, that would be a different story. Can you imagine if Donald Trump paid for this settlement agreement with campaign funds, alleging it was part of something to enhance the campain or help the campaign? They would be baying for his scalp
so
this morning.
So these business records, I just want to make sure we're clear clear as day. Whether it's campaign finance or anything, these business records were solely internally, only for the Trump Organization. No IRS, no third party, no insurance company. No one else on the outside of the Trump Organization ever relied on these records that were called falsely legal services.
I wouldn't say falsely, but that's another issue we can debate later if you'd like, or right now. But yes, the answer to your initial question is you are correct. No one else relied on them. No one else had to rely on them. This was a personal resolution for a personal matter that would have been made irrespective of the campaign. So with those facts together, there is no crime. There's not even a bad act.
A couple quick things. Do you expect the president to voluntarily surrender? Will he come for his arraignment?
We're working out those logistics right now, Savannah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, he's not going to hole up in Mar-a-Lago. So he'll face this, and we'll face it, and we'll be successful, I'm sure.
Do you expect this to go to trial? Do you see any scenario in which you or the former president would take a plea deal?
Zero. First of all, I'm not taking a plea deal to anything, but President Trump will not take a plea deal in this case. It's not going to happen. There's no crime. I don't know if it's going to make the trial because we have substantial legal challenges that we have to front before we get to that point.
So there you go. Trump's actual attorney giving you actual details that they're not going to take a plea deal and they're going to fight this tooth and nail. Wow. And so an actual former president of the United States, and it's really unprecedented, actually, even more so because he's the front runner for the Republican Party to run again here as a president. Again. Wow. So, and, we really have, is this politically motivated? Obviously a lot of Republicans think so. Why is a state DA moving forward on this? Obviously, we have a lot of people saying, really, it makes you wonder. Yeah, it's and remember, I give my opinion again. I'm not from either party. In case you haven't heard me say that before, I'm not. I don't consider myself a Republican or a Democrat because sometimes I agree with either party, just on different issues. I like to look at myself as a realist. I don't think it's a good look for our country. You think about, look at how China's looking at us, look at how North Korea's looking at us, look at how Russia's looking at us. I don't think it's a good look for our country to be trying to arrest our presidents as for anything, unless it's really high level stuff like they committed treason or sold our secrets to Russia or something along those lines. Because look, just think about how it makes our country look to the rest of the world. And there's question on if this is even illegal or not. And imagine if Trump goes through the whole legal system and is found not guilty, then imagine how it really makes our country look. And again, you can kind of think of this as the similar situation with Bill Clinton and how he was kind of persecuted. He's a Democrat, obviously, and how the Republicans kind of persecuted him with the Monica Lewinsky and the Paula Jones case. Remember, he paid Paula Jones hush money, and I'll show you it here. Here's an old web page from the Washington Post from 1998. Bill Clinton settles the Paula Jones lawsuit, and he settled it to stop her from talking. And you could consider this hush money. Obviously, they're different cases, obviously different scenarios. Every different case is a different scenario. But you have former presidents. Bill Clinton was a current president at the time. Bill Clinton paid $850,000. So you can kind of see here again, do we want to, do this to our presidents? And how does this make the world look at us and our presidents, who are a symbol of our country, whether they're Republican, Democrats? It kind of makes us look like a laughing stock to the rest of the world, whether they're Republicans or Democrats. Meanwhile, in New York, the New York Police Department orders every single member of the department to report in uniform following the Trump indictment. So they are already preparing for a serious scenario of incidences. Here, take a listen.
Back here at home, the NYPD has beefed up security over the course of the last week.
Let's get right out to Fox 5's Stephanie Bertini live outside the criminal courthouse in Lower Manhattan. Stephanie, what's the scene like out there?
And Natasha, Steve, security is increasing as we speak, and that's because the NYPD must be ready for anything. Barricades and police presence around and close to the courthouse and the building that houses the district attorney's office in Manhattan tonight, as the NYPD is increasing security following news the grand jury voted to indict former President Donald Trump. While you'll see an increased uniformed presence throughout the 5 boroughs, there are currently no credible threats to New York City. The department remains ready and available to respond. Fox 5 News has confirmed all NYPD officers scheduled for tomorrow are to be in uniform regardless of rank at 7 a.m. They need to be ready for anything, says retired NYPD sergeant and current adjunct professor at John Jay College of Criminal Justice, Joseph Jackalone.
Remember, the NYPD, they have about 30,000 cops that are going to be ready to go.
Possible protests, threats to the building, or individuals all important to law enforcement, says Jackalone. And he says as this progresses, security will likely grow.
And I think you're going to see what we refer to as alphabet soup. You're going to see the U.S. Secret Service, the FBI. You're going to see a whole host of federal agencies down here. It's just not going to be the NYPD, and there's going to be a lot of security. I mean, listen, there might even be snipers on roofs in and around the area.
This is video of District Attorney Alvin Bragg leaving the courthouse surrounded by security this evening. This comes less than a week after his life was threatened. As we reported, a package with suspicious white powder was delivered to the mailroom of the building that houses the DA's office, along with a note saying, "Alvin, I'll kill you."
No credible threats, but they've already had that one package delivered. And honestly, I think we all can just even imagine what's probably going to happen. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but I'll keep you up to date here on our YouTube channel. Again, I just try to bring you guys the truth and show you kind of each side and who's, important to see their interviews here and everything going on here in our country on a daily basis. So if you haven't, make sure to click the subscribe button down below and the bell icon so you don't miss out on new videos that come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's completely free to do so. If you appreciate these videos, don't forget to hit the like button for us as well. Here's some videos you should watch next. You can click this video here to see what Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen just said about our country. Or you can click this video here to see what the top ranking general just said. Both good videos. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next video.